Alright guys, I figured I would just go over some of the settings that I have set on the G7 for filmmaking, or not really filmmaking. I do like a lot of short clips that I like to edit. So I usually use aperture mode, have the lower aperture, let in more light, and then the ISO can adjust to it, and then the shutter speed can adjust to that. And it lets you get bokeh effect, the blurry background, or maybe I want the background in focus, I can bring up the aperture, and then shutter speed would get brought down and whatever else. So mainly when I shoot, it's aperture priority. So photo style, if I am going to be editing the clip with DaVinci Resolve for color grading, I will use Cinelike D. I don't always use Cinelike D. If I'm shooting for a YouTube video that is just going up, I will usually use natural or standard. I don't know, it's just whatever I'm in the mood for that day, because they're actually pretty close. I think natural you can get a little bit more shadows out of, but most of the time these are my settings for Cinelike D. Filter settings, no effects. Snap movie is off. Recording format, I use MP4. I do 4K, and the only codec that Panasonic allows on their cheaper 4K cameras is MP4 format for their 4K feature. I shoot at 4K most of the time. Exposure mode, we already went over that. So for focusing, I use AFS. I was trying out AFF, but for some reason, AFS focuses a lot faster without too much hunting. So when you would pick the camera up to shoot at another object, like you turned around, what was happening with the AFS mode is that AFF, to clarify that, AFF mode is when you would turn, it would go in focus, out of focus, it would like overdo it, and then back in. It was really quick, but it was that little hunt that I didn't want, and I think AFS does a little bit of a better job. So for, I chose AFS to be the better option because of it not hunting. And if I'm really into it, I will actually manually focus and pull focus like that. But my standard settings are AFS. Continuous autofocus is going to be on. Metering mode is just your basic, it takes in the generic amount of light in the frame itself. But you have like center mode, you have, I don't even know what that mode, but that's pinpoint, that's center, and then that's like the whole frame, and it varies from that. Highlight shadows, I use +1 on the highlights and -1 on the shadows. I just felt it's a little bit better in color grading, not that I'm an expert at that or anything. Eye dynamic, I haven't really found out what this actually does. So I just let it on auto because I haven't had any issues with it. Eye resolution is off. Diffraction compensation is on auto. Once again, I haven't noticed any problems with it off or with it on, so I just left it on auto. Level is at 0 to 255. Teleconvert, what is that whole thing? I don't even know. It's abbreviated. Enlarge further, I have that off. Digital zoom's off. Silent operation is off. What was that last one? Mic display level I have on. Mic level is set at 0 dB. Mic level limiter is set at on, and wind noise cancellation is set at standard, because a lot of times I will be filming outside, and a lot of times the G7 audio I am not using other than to line up post. If we go into my F menu here, I have set at 49 points. I've been experimenting with this. I go back and forth between 49 points and my straight line. I felt that that's better for kind of matching, not really matching, matching's not the right word, kind of compensating for all the different focus points, and it kind of pulls where the main draw is. It's not the greatest. If you really want something true in focus, you will use manual focus, but for the most part that's not that bad, especially if you're using a wide angle lens. If you want something a little bit more direct, I do the center mode on the 49 point area. And I found that the 49 point area also provides a better, faster autofocus, because it's not trying to compute, I guess is the word, of where it should focus in the straight line. So the 49 point, I realize focus is a lot faster, especially for some of the stuff that I do with my car. You want it to be on that focus point a little bit better because it's in the center of where I'm usually in frame. For landscapes though, actually that's where it comes in play with this. I use that for landscapes actually. So that is about it for the G7. Not sure if I missed too much because some of the settings are default, some of the settings I tweaked and whatnot. A lot of it is just playing around to what you think is best. And set the focus modes, it all depends on what you're doing. I know that AFC gives you really bad results. I don't know about the Panasonic newer cameras, but I know with the older cameras, especially not as the high-end ones, it freaking sucks. It doesn't really, it predicts, it has some kind of algorithm in it, it predicts, but it usually overdraws the focus or overpulls the focus, or there's a lot of hunting because it will overcompensate and then it will pull back and it will pull back overcompensated, and you just get that hunting effect back and forth until it finds it. So there's not too much more to talk about. I think that's everything for my G7. I can go over the cage one day. We back out of this. I can go over my G7 cage that I have going on here. Turn that off. Oh, I also have a video that I want to do to pull shutter count on your G7. So, my G7 almost made a crash landing. It is a little bit on balance. Once I get the focus pull back on the side here, the Roku-on lens, what else was I going to put on here? Oh, and the handle grip, it should balance out a little bit better. It is a little teeny-totty on the side. So we can go over this one day. I am going to be building my GX85 camera cage very shortly though, so we can go over that also. But other than that, just want to give you guys some quick tips on the settings I use. So I see you guys later.